Speaking of the so-called tank killer, many people will think of the U.S. military's current Apache. It is not only the best anti-tank weapon in the air at present, but it has also been introduced into nearly 20 countries to use. And the main equipment of the Russian military today is the Mi-28 bomber-armed helicopter, which plays an important role in the Russian military battlefield. Its appearance is very similar to Apache, and it has been nicknamed the Apache driver by Western countries. In today's video, we will focus on Apache and talk about these two helicopters. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. military developed the AH-1 glass snake-armed helicopter. It is based on the basic appearance characteristics of a modern armed helicopter. It has a front and rear connected cockpit, a narrow fuselage, and two turbine-shaped engines. The fuselage is equipped with fixed machine guns. The fuselage is equipped with weapons such as rocket launchers. In 1972, the U.S. Department of Defense officially recruited a new generation of heavy-duty armed helicopters. And in 1976, the YAH-64 proposal was selected by the Shoes Company. When the helicopter was developed, the U.S. military had urgent air anti-tank combat needs. At that time, the Taos anti-tank missile had been proven to be a weapon. However, it still uses a limited guidance mode. If it is launched with a high-speed fighter or an attack aircraft, it will not be able to carry out a precise strike. The U.S. military therefore required that the new armed helicopter must be used as an excellent anti-tank missile launch platform. Due to the use of the most advanced technology at that time, first AH-64 Apache was commissioned in 1986. It was also acquired by the Shoes Company and became the product of Boeing today. Its length is 17.73 meters. The air weight of the fuselage is 5.2 tons, and the maximum takeoff weight is 10.05 tons. The two T-700 turboprop launchers provide sufficient power so that its maximum flight speed is 293,000 meters. With only two anti-missile fuel tanks, it can reach a range of 480,000 meters. With two anti-missile fuel tanks, it can reach an astonishing 1,900,000 meters. The first thing that makes the Apache stand out is its strong firepower. It can be said that it is the basic foothold of its design. The weapon operator in front of the latter cockpit and the pilot behind it are different from the glass's snake-armed helicopter. Both are equipped with a helmet aimer. The eyes of the weapon operator are linked to the 30mm machine gun under its feet to achieve the real meaning of aiming where to hit where. Although its 30mm machine gun is a single-tube design, its rate of fire is up to 695 rounds per minute, and the huge magazine can carry 1,200 rounds. Although the shell is only 70mm deep, the helicopter can use its flexibility to shoot behind the weak side of the tank armor, and the actual anti-armor efficiency is even higher than the big mouth cannon on the tank. Similar to the glass's snake, the Apache also has a short wing on each side of the fuselage. The short wing has a total of 6 external hangars, one of which can carry 4 single portable anti-aircraft missiles. When fighting with the enemy's armed helicopter, it can pierce the air-to-air missile, and the following 4 hangars can carry 4 anti-tank missile launchers, 19 rocket launchers, or fuel tanks. The U.S. Air Force and Air Force only have 70mm 9-headed snake missiles, but the rocket launchers are equipped with a variety of combat units so that the Apache can carry out anti-tank, support infantry combat missions at the same time. In recent years, the U.S. military has equipped the 9-headed snake with a laser projector so that it has become a cheap air-to-ground missile. When the Apache took off in order to perform the maximum anti-tank performance of the aircraft, the U.S. Army finally hit the AGM-114 Hellfire anti-tank missile, which is the first anti-tank missile in the world to get rid of the island line, using laser semi-active radar as a guidance method. The maximum armor penetration is up to 1,400 millimeters, which is enough to destroy any known main battle tank. To play the shooting advantage of the Hellfire anti-tank missile, the Apache's fuselage installed the most advanced optical, microlight, infrared sighting system at the time. Weapon operators can find enemy tanks in bad weather conditions and use the Hellfire missile to strike accurately. The U.S. military helicopters flying low altitude in battles are often hit by the ground fire of the U.S. military, so the Apache has also set very high requirements for its protection performance when it takes off. Its fuselage must be able to withstand direct hits from 12.7mm high-firing machine guns, and the main parts such as the fuel tank must even be able to withstand 23mm high-firing cannons. The main variable speed tank can also keep running for 30 minutes. If two engines are destroyed, the other one can also keep flying. It is very difficult to achieve such a tough requirement. American engineers, through a large number of innovative designs, including the use of the just-released Kevlar armor, finally made the Apache a flight tank with both attack and defense. After the service, the Apache soon participated in the invasion of Panama by the U.S. military and provided direct fire support for the ground troops. With the outbreak of the 1991 Gulf War, the desolate Iraqi desert became the ideal hunting ground for the Apache. Before the war began, Saddam believed that as long as he could withstand the airstrikes of multiple troops, he could deliver heavy casualties to the enemy on the ground. However, the appearance of the Apache's flash made the Iraqis realize that they were just a lamb carrying a load. The Apache fired a total of 5,000 Hellfire missiles, and then used machine guns and rocket launchers to become the terminator of a group of tanks and armored vehicles. A small number of self-propelled high-explosive guns had long been destroyed by the airstrikes of multiple troops. High-explosive machine guns were almost no threat to the Apache. In the entire war, the Apache was only shot down once, and the two members were safe and sound. The number of tank armored vehicles destroyed by the Apache was up to 3,700. Its anti-armor efficiency was far more than a fixed-wing fighter that exploded wildly, and more tanks and ground Hellfire missiles. Later, in Afghanistan and Iraq, the Apache became a star equipment of the U.S. military. Even when the U.S. military left Afghanistan in disarray, the Apache at Kabul airport received a wave of traffic. What surprised the U.S. military was that soon after the Apache was deployed, the Soviet Army equipped a new generation of heavy-duty armored helicopters, the Mi-28. Its appearance is surprisingly similar to the Apache, so that some people suspect that the Soviets stole the information of the Apache. But this is just a classic illusion of the Cold War. In 1976, the Soviet Ministry of Defense recruited a new generation of armored helicopters. According to the U.S. military's already large number of used Glasses snakes and the information of the Apache helicopters publicly acquired, combined with the Soviet technology at the time, the Soviet military launched a new generation of heavy-duty armored helicopters in 1988. At that time, the two sides had similar technical standards and battlefield requirements. The Mi-28 is highly similar to the Apache in many aspects. From a technical point of view, it is not a strange thing. What is surprising is that the Mi-28 is 17 meters long, but the air weight has reached 7.5 tons, which is about 50% heavier than the Apache. But considering the tradition of Soviet equipment, the gap between the two sides in terms of materials is not enough. The two Krimov Design Bureau's TV3117 engines are its engines. The output power is also close to that of the Apache T700, but Soviet designers can't copy the Apache directly. The Mi-28 has a longer nose, the glass area of the cockpit is smaller, and the overall look is rougher. Put the two together, you can tell which one is American and which one is Soviet at a glance. Although there has never been a confrontation between the two sides, it does not hinder people from comparing the twin brothers. In terms of protection, the Mi-28 is almost completely beyond the design concept of the Apache, but its air weight is larger, the armor protection area is larger, and the anti-damage ability is higher than that of the Apache. Even the windshield can resist the close-range shooting of large-caliber machine guns, which makes the Apache inferior. In terms of firepower, the Mi-28 also has a 30mm machine gun under the fuselage, and it is linked to the 5G operator's helmet aimer. However, this gun was improved by the main gun of the BMP-2 infantry tank. When shooting on the ground, the rate of fire is only 300 rounds per minute, and the ammunition capacity is only 300 rounds. This makes the 5G operator afraid to open fire, and the sustained combat ability is seriously inferior to the Apache. But the Mi-28's maximum takeoff weight of 11.5 tons brings an additional advantage. That is, the short-range ammunition capacity is still unbeatable today. Its one-shot hangar is also designed to carry portable anti-aircraft missiles for self-defense, but it mainly carries electronic warfare hangars. 4 of the following hangars can carry 8 torpedo anti-tank missiles. In this way, its surface strength is twice that of the Apache. Of course, in fact, there is no need to let the Mi-28 launch so many missiles in one go. From the public picture, the Mi-28 usually carries 2 sets of 16 anti-tank missiles, plus two 20-barrel 80-millimeter rockets. Due to the Russian Air Force's preference for rockets, the Mi-28 can naturally carry larger rockets to support ground combat. What is more exaggerated is that in 2015, after the Russian military intervened in the Syrian war, the Mi-28 carried 500-kilogram bombs of the Air Force many times, flying to the top of the target that had no air defense capability, and the missiles were fired in a vertical, precise attack. The Russian military also values its ability to carry large amounts of bombs, and is developing a 100-kilometer air-to-ground missile for it. But it is worth mentioning that the Mi-28's firepower is far superior to that of the Apache. First of all, due to the Russian aviation electronic technology's backwardness, the Mi-28 sighting system is a big step behind the Apache. After 1991, the Apache has been upgraded many times. The Mi-28, which has all-weather combat capability, served in the Russian military until 2006. Although the Russians stole the Apache and installed a millimeter wave radar at the top of the latest Mi-28, the Apache integrated it into the anti-tank missile fire control system. In this way, it can completely hide behind a house or a small mountain and only expose the millimeter wave radar to the horizon, leading the long-range Helva missiles to collectively attack enemy armor targets. In contrast, the Mi-28 lacks this feature. After the pilot finds the target on the radar, it still needs to be maintained at a certain height, and the weapon operator can fire the anti-tank missile in turn after seeing the target. What's more incredible is that the Mi-28's early model torpedo anti-tank missile actually uses wireless command guidance. Although it avoids the restrictions imposed by guided missiles, it is also very easy to be disturbed by the enemy. Even after entering the 21st century, the Mi-28 is equipped with a new anti-tank missile with laser guidance. Its overall performance is still incomparable to the Apache, which is equipped with a long-range Helva. To date, Apache has 13 overseas users. Exporting this aircraft has not only created income for Boeing, but also provided a basis for further improvement in the requirements and feedback of different users. Russia, which is shy in the bag, has also taken the Mi-28 to international air shows many times, but so far no one has asked about it except for Iraq. There is another important reason for this situation, which is that the fuel economy of the Mi-28 is too poor. Although it is similar in many ways to the Apache, the maximum flight speed is still ahead of the Apache. However, in the case of only using the fuselage, the Mi-28's range is only 200 kilometers. This is simply a version of the Mi-29's airport wall defender, which has suffered many restrictions in practical application. This is not because the Mi-28's design level is not high, but because its TV317 turboaxle engine is too oil-consuming. According to public information, at the same output power, the fuel consumption of the TV317 is about 67% higher than that of the T700, and its appearance is not as streamlined as that of the Apache. It is not surprising that the aircraft is so shrinking. It can be seen that it only needs to replace a more fuel-efficient heart for the Mi-28, and its performance can be compared with that of the Apache. However, the new generation of Mi-28NM, with a new engine, has too few services. Therefore, from a comprehensive point of view, Apache has maintained its advantage in the field of military operations for a long time. Especially after the cancellation of the Kermansky project, the U.S. Air Force and Boeing are full of enthusiasm for improving the Apache. In the next 10 years, it will still be the U.S. Air Force's main strike platform. On the other hand, the Mi-28 has never had a decent record, and its reputation has also been crushed by the Apache. And the worst news is that the Russian-Russian conflict in early 2022 did not make the Mi-28 turn over, but repeatedly spread the news that the Russian military had hit the business. What makes the Russian pilots desperate is that due to the long-term military expenses, the Mi-28's infrared stealth performance is not comparable to that of the Apache, and there is a lack of necessary electronic defense equipment. In front of the Russian army, which has more and more Western air defense missiles, it is very difficult to maintain the current record. At present, the Russian military has no money to improve the needs of the Mi-28, and it also needs to support the Ka-52 armed helicopter. In this way, the gap between the Mi-28 and the Apache will only get bigger and bigger. I'm afraid this is a common tragedy of Russian equipment. As for how to evaluate the Mi-28, you are welcome to comment in the comment section. Thank you for your company. Like and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.